Lego is releasing so many new Star Wars sets next year, which will naturally include so many new Star Wars minifigures. In today's video, I want to look at some Lego Star Wars minifigures we really need to see in 2026, and how they can appear in different set waves next year. The first minifigure I want to talk about is Count Dooku, which is a minifigure that I think is very likely to appear next year. Now, of course, every year people talk about this one and how we need to see him, as he is a very crucial Sith Lord from the prequels and the Clone Wars that hasn't been seen since 2013. I think this one is more likely and perhaps even more necessary right now, as Clone Wars sets are more popular than ever before, specifically seen with sets like the V19 Torrent coming out this year, showing some love towards the earlier seasons of the Clone Wars again, with that new Obi-Wan Kenobi minifigure and Asajj Ventress making her return to LEGO after around a decade. I think it is very necessary to see more from this part of the Clone Wars, and perhaps we can see some sets including both Count Dooku and a Clone Wars styled Anakin Skywalker, with the same attention to detail as Obi-Wan Kenobi. This could be something from the Clone Wars movie or any separatist based vehicle in its Clone Wars colors. The next one is a minifigure we have seen quite recently, and that is Sabine Wren. Now, she was included in the Ahsoka's T6 Jedi Shuttle for Ahsoka Season 1, but the minifigure was in no way perfect or as sought after even, despite being a very popular character right now. However, as Ahsoka Season 2 is expected to release somewhere in 2026, I think it is definitely likely that we will see more sets based on the show, and a minifigure that must be included will likely be Sabine. I specifically want to talk about her compared to the other characters from the show though, as I think we could and really should see her with some arm printing, seeing as so many Mandalorian minifigures, specifically named characters, get this treatment. I think as she has one of the more unique sets of armor compared to other Mandalorians and is such a popular character, she really should get this treatment next year. Of course, I think it is also fair to talk about some clone troopers, and there are quite a few that LEGO needs to make very soon. The first one I want to talk about, however, is the 212 minifigure. So this is a clone trooper we have seen rather recently, in the ATTE from 2022. And despite the hate it often receives, I don't think this minifigure is terrible. However, I do think it is necessary that it returns to LEGO rather soon in some smaller set, and perhaps they could be included in a new Super Battle Pack next year. Just maybe not a $45 set this time. Anyway, I think maybe a few updates could be made to this design, as LEGO is seemingly open to the idea of making printing updates, so if this were to be done in a cheaper set, it would give fans the chance to finally build a 212 army a little bit easier. On the topic of clone troopers, I also want to talk about the Wolf Pack, and this has been heavily talked about for quite some time now. There are some speculations that we will finally see the Wolf Pack in LEGO Star Wars next year, and after the release of a new Plo Koon minifigure this year, I think it is very fitting as well. These could also be included in some battle pack, or perhaps another larger clone-based vehicle could be cool too. But sadly, it might be a little bit too soon to hope to see a new gunship. To lead the Wolfpack, you would of course want Commander Wolf as well, which is probably one of the fan-favorite clone troopers right behind characters like Rex and Cody. And I would love to see how Wolf would look in the modern Phase 2 style. This is a minifigure I would love to see with arm printing too, as we saw that with both Fives and Captain Rex, but as Bly didn't see any this year, I think it is sadly likely that if Wolf is ever made, you won't get that further detail either. Next year, we are seeing a brand new X-Wing Starfighter playset, and it is rumored to retail at $100, which for an X-Wing feels absolutely insane, especially considering it will be a downscaled version like we have seen very recently. Anyway, in this set I think we could see a brand new Biggs Darklighter. A pilot minifigure we surprisingly haven't seen in the modern form yet, the closest being the version with his oversized helmet in 2018. I would love to see this minifigure with the normal sized pilot's helmet and the most recent design for X-Wing pilots, as the previous version with this helmet dates back to the earliest years of LEGO Star Wars, so it is definitely time to see this one again. For $100, I would of course want to see the best out of a minifigure like this, meaning dual molded legs and arm printing as seen on the UCS minifigure, but that is sadly very unlikely, and we just have to settle for an overpriced smart brick in this set. On the topic of the rebellion though, I want to talk about Mon Mothma, a minifigure that is way overdue for a remake. I think it is very necessary that this character returns to LEGO very soon, and might even be fitting as a side character in a rebel vehicle like the X-Wing, or something like the Y-Wing, which is also a set that is due for a remake. Mon Mothma was also a massive character in the Andor storyline as well, so she could easily be thrown into a set based on season 1 or 2 if LEGO ever decides to go back and make some sets from the show, which sadly is fairly unlikely. The most likely thing would be a direct remake of Mothma in her iconic white robes as seen in the original trilogy, and of course her original 2009 minifigure. Before moving on, if you enjoy any of my videos, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe, as it supports this channel so much. Jumping back to the topic of earlier Clone Wars characters, I think it is also time to see Savage Opress return to LEGO Star Wars. So my logic on this is that with the release of Asajj Ventress this year, LEGO could perhaps reuse that brand new minifigure in a set with Savage Opress. Perhaps a remake of something like the Sith Nightspeeder or any other Dathomir based set. With the increasing popularity of Darth Maul as well, the spiked headpiece is probably heavily in production and might be used for new minifigures too, such as a modern remake of Savage Opress. Especially if we also see Count Dooku return, I think having Savage available too will finally give Clone Wars villains proper love in LEGO again, making it easy to build a neat collection of these minifigures to go against all the modern Jedi and Clone Trooper minifigures being released. But of course, I have to mention the fact that we definitely need some new minifigures for Rogue One next year too. The first one being the Death Trooper. I think this minifigure is very likely, as we just saw the Death Trooper helmet piece return to the production line for the Night Troopers Battle Pack, and I would love to see it be used in a new version of an Imperial Battle Pack, maybe even a Super Battle Pack, including some Stormtroopers, Death Troopers, and Rebel Troopers. The Death Troopers are some of the better Imperial minifigures and are universally loved, and getting them in their plain black armor again would be really good next year. Alongside that, we could also see the Shore Trooper return next year, as this is another iconic trooper from Rogue One and Andor. This is another rather beloved minifigure as well that is rather expensive to come by right now, and could easily fall into some generic Imperial Battle Pack too, finally differentiating Imperial armies again, as lately things have been quite boring with mainly only Stormtroopers. This could basically be an exact re-release of the previous Shore Trooper, as there really isn't anything else missing with this minifigure. Just seeing it again would be very good. But all that said, what minifigures do you think we need to see next year? Let me know down below. Then I will see you all in the next one. God bless you and cheers.